Hey boys and girls, Jim here. Time to get into Guest Blade episode number 26. Oh yes, finally gonna get to this. I put this in a sneak peek not too long ago, and I've just been so piled up with my own videos, with Guest Blade videos, I just haven't had a chance to get to it, and I really want to. This is a Birch Tree Blade Works Tangent variant. Oh, yeah, this thing is wicked. Birch Tree Blade Works is Michael Burch, and Michael does some of the most unique and outstanding work out there. And as a testament to the uniqueness of his works and the quality of his works, the secondary market has exploded with his knives. I mean, almost out of control. A knife that you'll pay $1,000 for is going to immediately be worth about $4,000. And that's not a stretch. That really is what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis out there. Before we get much more into the knife, I do want to say thank you again to Kevin, Krevman12, you guys know him from Instagram, who donated this blade very generously to me. As a matter of fact, he's never even held this knife. This knife has never made it to him yet, and I've had it for a few weeks, and he's been so overly gracious and saying, no, man, keep it as long as you need to, and do this and do that, and then whenever you're done, go ahead and send it to me. I still got his Mosier Crossfire that has to get packaged up with this to go back to him. So, Kevin, dude, it is awesome to know you, and it was really great meeting you at the New York show. It was fantastic, and I love the blades that you get. You have a wonderful insight into what makes a knife special, and I've yet to see you buy anything that wasn't truly a grail-worthy knife, one by one, and then, of course, when you look at the entire collection, it's insane. So Kevin's building up quite the Burch collection, and good for him too, because this is a maker that is absolutely on fire now. When you look, there are certain makers right now that the secondary market is insane. You look at Tom Mayo's, you look at Jeremy Marsh, you look at GTC's. These are knives that are going for a lot more. Todd Rexford's another example, going for a lot more than they originally sold for. And the question a lot of people have, and the question that I had about Burch was, are they worth it? Because that's a big chunk of change. Well, let's take a look at the knife overall. You've got about a 4.25 inch blade on this. This is 1095 steel with Michael's famous Hamones. You know, when you think of Hamones, you think of certain makers, and lately the makers that have really been dominating in the Hamones, in this category, in this tactical style of folding knife, has really been Sniper Blade Works and Lance Abernathy. But when you look at Lance's work, which is phenomenal, and he makes a great tactical knife, and then you look at a Burch, and you look at the Hamones that are done here, there is a bit of a difference. Now, there's something to this particular finish that I don't think that I can replicate with my lighting here. And it's something that I never caught in pictures, because I'm not a big Hamone guy. I think Hamones are cool, but it's never really the most amazing thing to me. And I'd seen pictures of this knife and went, oh, that looks pretty cool. But what you don't see in pictures, and what you may not be seeing here in the video, but you do see in real life, is this is almost glowing. There's an effect, a sheen off of the finish of this blade that is remarkable, where around each of the Hamone lines, it almost looks like it's ghosted. I've never seen anything like this. It's not a process I wouldn't think, too indifferent from what anybody else does. I mean, he's simply, and I don't want to say simply because I don't want to make it sound like this is an easy thing to do and anybody can do it in their kitchen. But before the heat treat, he's applying a special clay to the 1095 steel. And what that allows him to do is kind of form a pattern on the blade. So when it goes through heat treat, you get this look naturally through the heat treat. So this area here is not getting the same degree of heat treat as the most important part, which is the edge. And the traditional reasoning for Hamones is to create different strengths in different areas of the steel that you have for different reasons. When you go way up in a Rockwell hardness, you gain hardness, but you lose toughness. And if you do something to gain toughness, you lose hardness. And this is, it's a natural composition. You could be talking about gemstones, or you could be talking about heat treating of steels. It's always going to work the same. So what doing a Hamon can do, besides just looking cool and looking different, is it allows this steel to be much more tough while maintaining a greater degree of hardness just at the edge where it's needed for cutting. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. But while you're doing that, you get something that looks quite beautiful. And I particularly love it back here on the spine of the blade. And I'm having to be careful that I move my hand exactly with this blade, because if I let this blade slide across my hand, I am going to gut myself. It is very, very, very sharp. Now, you've got a huge, thick, heavy blade here, yet it flips open magnificently. It is a fantastic flipper for its incredible size. Guys, this is a very, very heavy blade. I would say that this knife weighs probably about 7 ounces. 7, maybe even closer to 8 ounces. Now, you've also got some heavy material up here. This is superconductor, which is copper niobium. And you might be used to seeing superconductor only in that honeycomb pattern, but actually there are many different patterns of copper niobium that can be obtained. This one, I'm not sure if there is a name or what the name may be for this particular pattern, but it almost looks like a fingerprint to me. Maybe they call it fingerprint niobium, I don't know, or fingerprint superconductor, but it has this fingerprint kind of look to it. I think that's really, really cool. And it only stands out, the copper in it only stands out in certain lighting and at certain angles. There you can start to see more of it there. This is one of the more unique ways I've seen superconductor done. You guys have seen a couple of knives on my channel in superconductor. Brad Southard, and what else did I have in superconductor? Now I'm blanking and I apologize, but I have done 2 other superconductor knives. And then you have a nice transition into carbon fiber. All of the titanium in the liners here have been beautiful bronze anodized. He's got a very unique backspacer here. Look at this backspacer. I love what he's done here. He's created its own special, unique, special component. It's not just a backspacer. It's as finely crafted as the rest of the knife. Very nicely done. It's a flush gear pattern going around here to the back, where it comes down to kind of that spike like we see up here. Everything's made very, very nicely. It's got a nice strong liner lock, very strong liner lock, by the way. And it seems to lock up in the same place every single time. I do believe just by the action of this that it is on bearings. I haven't been able to see with my naked eye, but maybe we will get a chance to see through the camera's lens with the right angle and the right lighting. I can't quite make it out through my viewfinder, but I will certainly be able to figure it out when I see it on the replay, and you guys can see it as well. So you've got a nice finish overall. Everything's fitted beautifully. Now, I've tried to get a hold of Michael a few times. I've called him. He's called me. We've been playing phone tag for about 2 weeks. Unfortunately, our schedules are never aligning. So I wanted to have a little bit more information for you directly from Michael. And he has just been so nice. But unfortunately, our schedules just, they aren't meeting up where I get the chance to spend the time with him. So this is going to be, again, more of an overview, less of a review. The jimping on here, it's not particularly effective. There's no sharpness to it. I don't feel there's nothing stopping my thumb from sliding up the spine of the blade here. The notch out here, I don't know if that was done just for looks or if it really was done for a thumb reach. For me, it's a bit of a stretch. This is not something that I could use without a forward choil. There is no choil here. You will cut yourself. Maybe Michael just has really long thumbs, so it doesn't work that well for me. If that were its intended purpose, I'm not entirely certain. The action, like I said, is really nice. His detent, by the way, is also really nice. Very strong, as a matter of fact. Sucks it in very well. And for such a big and heavy blade, it's a wonderful performer. Let me give you an idea how big this freaking knife is. Put it up next to my Hoback Kawayback, and you will see that it's only a little bit longer in its overall length, but you can now see how thick and massive the body of this knife really is. And for another comparison, up against my Medford Praetorian tie, another knife that has some girth to it, some big thickness to it, and it still dwarfs the Praetorian tie. Now, here's where the tale can really be told. Let's take a look at the thickness. Now remember, this really isn't built to be an overbuilt tank like these other two are, and that's really what Greg Medford and Jake Hoback are really known for. The blade stock is almost as thick as my Kawayback. Not quite as thick as the Praetorian, but this is, obnoxiously thick. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I love how thick my Praetorian is. But this is like a nice balance. You've got a really, really thick blade, but it's not overly thick. And I think he's kept the frame proportionate to that. So we'll get these guys out of here. 1 and 2. I still love how smooth my Kawayback is. Still love that knife. Now, we're talking about a knife that is, and again, I didn't get a chance to talk to Michael. I do believe this is in the realm of about $1,200, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am, I'm not very far off. This would generally be about a $1,000 knife before you start elaborating. Having the Hamon blade, having the superconductor most certainly adds some cost to it. So I'm going to say that this is probably in the neighborhood of about $1,200. Now, if you bought this on the secondary market, you're going to pay between, let's say conservatively, just in case the market goes soft up and down a few times, between $3,000 and $4,000. Is it worth it? Now, I want to be very clear. It is not the maker that sets this market. It is not Michael Burch that is saying, my knife should be $4,000. I don't believe that's what he sounds like either. But that's where the market has been going with so many of these makers lately. So let's break it down. Is this really worth $4,000? First off, everything is only worth what people are willing to pay. If there's somebody out there that really doesn't have the mindset of caring about what something costs, they see something they want, they have enough money to obtain it, and they're going to buy it. You have to take that out of the equation because, listen, just the other day, I received a 0 tolerance 888 for guest blade. I have it with me right now. And, that was, what, a $550 knife, something like that? And just yesterday, I saw an eBay listing that I was pointed to where not only did the person ask for this, but it sold for this. I'm going to show it to you. And this is from my Instagram, by the way. 0 tolerance 888. Again, what were they were about a $550 knife. Sold for $3,500. And this same seller sold another one for $3,100 earlier that day. So there are assholes that will pay any amount of money for anything. Whatever. That's a production knife. $3,500, dude. You could buy secondary market Burch, secondary market Marsh, secondary market Mayo. You cannot compare the two. And so again, in order to be fair, I can't take this at $3,000 to $4,000 and compare it to a knife that legitimately would be sold at $3,000 to $4,000. And again, we go back again to Stan Wilson. Go watch the video of me in his shop and see what a $4,500 knife actually looks like and how it's made and the things and the work, the hundreds of hours that go into each one. You look at a Joe Cayos, you look at a Ron Best, but again, then you're able to get up into you know, $20, $30, $50,000. Maybe scale it back to a Jeffrey Harkins. You'll pay for like a Triton or something. You'll pay $3 to $4 to $5,000 for a Jeff Harkins. This is not in that league. It's not meant to be. Again, that is not where his prices are set. Harkins will set his price at $3,000, and it's worth every penny of it for the incredible detail in which he builds each of those knives. Michael is setting his price, again, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,200 because that's what he knows it's worth. It's the cost of his materials is about that much of it. The rest of it is his time, his labor, his creativity, his mastering of tuning that detent, of tuning this lock interface, the geometry on there, tuning that action to be as perfect as it is. You know how hard it is to take a knife like this, of these dimensions, and make it flip this well. He's created a beautiful pivotless bolster right here. Very nicely done. Done in superconductor and done cleanly. Nice integration between the superconductor and the carbon fiber. Again, going back to previous videos, you could close your eyes and Helen Keller this, and it's almost impossible, except for feeling these screws, it's almost impossible to tell if this is not one solid material. Even across the back, from where the titanium and the copper niobium meet, and the titanium and the carbon fiber meet, it is flawless. You feel the backspacer a little bit, but you're supposed to. The clip, you guys know where I'm going with this. No, the clip is unacceptable to me. I'm sorry. It's just, this is a freaking beautiful knife. This is something that I would trade a few of my premium knives to Kevin to get something like this. No. Standard spring clip titanium. It is titanium. Yeah, sure. It's been bronze anodized. Yeah, it will be. It does not meet up to the. This is a Bentley with hubcaps. See what I'm saying? Bentley with hubcaps. But then again, you're going to add another $100 to the cost of the knife, to the retail user, to the end user. Another $100 to put a nice 3D contoured titanium clip on here. And see, I also look at things with a designer's eye as well. You know what I would do? I'd put a stainless steel clip on there. Maybe not even stainless steel, just a steel clip. Why? For me, I like to create a balance. How badass would it be to have a steel clip done with a hamon similar to this for the clip? Now, there's downfalls to that if you were using a 1095 steel, because 1095, if you look at it for more than 18 seconds, it begins to rust. So what I've been doing to take care of Kevin's knife, I've been using my Aegis EDC solution for this knife to make sure there'd be no issues whatsoever while it was in my possession. So yeah, do you really want your pocket clip that's exposed to the elements? If you get caught out in the rain, you're going to sweat all over it, things like that. No, but there are still going to be plenty of guys that will never carry this knife anyway. But regardless of the material or embellishments being done, something more than a spring clip would certainly be welcomed on this. Would that be a deal breaker for me? No, because the rest of this knife speaks volumes for the quality held within it. I would always be wanting. I would always be looking at my knife going, I really wish I had a nicer clip on this. And you guys know I say the same thing about my own personal knives that I've paid my money for. If the knife didn't have a clip that was worthy of the rest of it, that yeah, I had to deduct a few points. I would also, for me, I would have done a hidden hardware design on this because, again, what Michael's created here is an outstandingly beautiful knife. And for me, I want to look at that artwork. I don't want to look at the frame. And what I mean by that is I don't want to look at the structural parts that put it together in the real world. I want to look at the beauty of the art. And this is beautiful. And by the way, the ergonomics for such a monster knife, this feels wonderful in the hand. It's almost like he's melted all of the edges. It's smooth and contoured. No hot spots anywhere. One of the biggest hot spots I've found in a lot of makers recently is right here. Why would you leave sharp edges on the area that I have to disengage the lock from? Burch did a great job here. It feels great. There is nothing about this knife that's cumbersome. You want to flip it and play with it all day long. So I would say this, and this is just my opinion. You may feel differently. I would gladly pay the maker's price for this, worth every freaking penny. Even if he was saying it was $1,500, worth every penny. I would pay a cool $2,000 for this knife any day of the week. Would I go into the crazy secondary market prices? No, unfortunately I would not, because that takes you from one level of knife making to another level at that price range. Yes, you're paying for exclusivity. Michael's one guy. He can't make 1,000 of these knives every year. You're paying for his expertise, that great action, that beautiful blade, the unique shapes, the, again, all handwork. You know, he's not sending this out to some guy somewhere in a machine shop and going, okay, CNC this for me. You know, he's doing all this work, so it's a lot slower of a process than a lot of makers. You're paying for a great degree of craftsmanship from somebody that's proven himself knife after knife. He's not a flash in the pan. He's proven himself knife after knife to be consistently amazing. And how often do you really get a chance to say that? But for this, I couldn't pay $3,000 to $4,000. It's just not there for me. And that's not a slight against this knife, and it's not a slight against Burch. This is a phenomenal knife. So if you've been looking at Burch's and been wondering, should I spend that kind of money? Only you can decide that. I think in the end, you know that you're going to get a solid quality knife. Will it be worth that same amount of money in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? There's no way to know. But the market is going to bottom out at some point. So you just got to make sure that when you are overspending, make sure it's on a damn good knife and not just a reputation. Not just a, hey, that's a cool maker, that's a cool knife, he's popular right now. Whether he was popular or not right now, I'd want one of these knives. Pure and simple. So there you go, guys. There's my take on it. There is a certain beauty to this knife that almost goes unrivaled. There are very few knives out there that I've looked at with a hamon that I would want this much. So take it for whatever it's worth. There is your HD look at the Burch Tangent variant. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back again with more videos very shortly.